so I will indeed catch your attention. We are going to focus on looking at some regional migration trends. Then we are going to go on to very quickly the links between migration, labor migration and development. And then I am going to give you an idea of the tools that we have created to foster ethical recruitment practices in the region. So specifically to be able to work ethically with labor migrants, that is for recruitment agencies and for the private sector. Now let's look quickly at what kind of migration flow. It remains, however, at least for now, although the percentages have been decreasing, a region of net immigration. At least this has been the case up to about 10 years ago, although as I was saying, things are starting to turn the other way around, at least for the past 10 years. We need to stress, however, that at least for the past 50 years, this region has lost about 5 million people to out-migration. Now, let me give you an idea of migration trends in the Caribbean and also in Latin America. So this is what we have. We have Nicaraguans and Panamanians going to Costa Rica, migrants from countries in Central America to Panama and Belize, Haitian migrants to the Dominican Republic and Brazil, Caribbean migrants from Trinidad and Tobago, Caribbean migrants going to Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyanese migrants basically going all over the Caribbean. Although we know that this is probably going to be reversed because of the recent discovery of large petrol reserves in Guyana. And then we need to look at the movements from the region to the rest of the world. So we have extra-regional corridors and the corridor to the US. So we have migrants from this region in the Caribbean to Europe and then to the US. We need to remember that really the US remains the most important destination in this region, but also in the world. Okay, I'm going to speak without mic. Might be more interesting. And actually, it might be coming out, so I have my notes. Right, fantastic. Top. No, I still have to write. So in 2015, we know that the foreign population in the US was approximately 45 million people, and that of these, about 14% was actually the migrants. So really very important. Now I wanted to publicize this publication that we have come out with in 2018. It is the most recent publication that exists on this kind of studies in the Caribbean. It is called Migration Governance in the Caribbean. It is available for everyone on the net. So you just you just write migration governance in the Caribbean and it will pop up. It is of course free to download. And it specifically looks at providing information regarding migration management. So you will find information on migration policies, border management issues, natural disasters and crises, migration health, trafficking and issues connected to protection, as well as labor migration. This quite seminal publication has been produced also to provide support to governments in the region to respond to the targets and points made in the Agenda 2030 in the Global Compact for Migration. So if you want to help your government to respond and to attain those targets and areas and themes to be done to attain the targets. Now, since we are talking about migration in the Caribbean, it wouldn't be complete if we didn't add a bit of a vision about what is going on currently with the migrants out of Venezuela. As we know, migrants that have left their country of origin, Venezuela, are now more than 4 million. and 3.5 million of them are actually here in the Caribbean and in Latin America. I wanted to stress, to attract your attention to the fact that if we look at the last part, so look at South America, of course, we have Colombia that is absorbing the largest majority of them. We have almost close, in fact, by now it's close to 1.5 million, 1.5 million. Then we have, of course, an important chunk that is taken by Central America and Mexico, Panama, Mexico, and Costa Rica. But I wanted to really attract your attention to the numbers that are in the Caribbean. Quite large number. And so I wanted to stress that this is a migration that is full of opportunities for this region. So on our website, that is actually run by IOM and the UNHCR, it's the platform of response to migration, the Venezuelan migration in the region. We have information about the professional skills and characteristics of the migration from Venezuela. And one thing that we have seen is that this kind of migrants bring in very needed skills. So I want to present this not just as large numbers, but as large opportunities that should be tapped into for the benefit of the region and for the benefits of migrants. So in fact, as my colleague from the ILO, who has just left us, was stressing, there is an intrinsic link between labour migration and development. I will not go into details because he has already done that, but I want to stress that indeed when labour migration is well managed, it can be beneficial for all. And all actors then are included as being migrants, the countries of origin, and the countries of destination. Now, I'm not saying that striking the balance between harnessing the opportunities that migration brings and diminishing the challenges that it presents is easy. It is far from that. But countries need to start to move into that direction, to see that in fact there is a link that can be useful for the country of destination. We work very much on these kind of issues, so we are supporting member states to indeed deal with the challenges while reaping the benefits. And now I wanted to go through with you about two tools that we have developed to help indeed facilitate the integration of labour migrants into the local economy, but also to facilitate their protection and the business case of employers and recruiters in other countries. Now, our agency works very much on the promotion of ethical recruitment practices. And we have these two tools that are available for governments, recruitment agencies and companies. One is called IRIS, and that stands for International Recruitment Integrity System. And the other one is CREST, Corporate Responsibility in Eliminating Slavery and Trafficking. I'm going to give you an oversight of what each one does. As we have heard in the presentation also by, well, our colleague from ILO touched upon it, exploitation is very present in the majority of sectors. In fact, unfortunately, there is no sector that is immune. And so, what is the consequence of not doing anything when there is exploitation, abuse and trafficking? Well, we know very well that when the information comes to either the media, the written media or social media about the fact that indeed a company has been stained by exploitation, abuse or trafficking, that recruitment agencies are not applying ethical recruitment practices and therefore their migrants, their labour migrants, are victims of exploitation and abuse. This goes all over, this goes viral, and the consequences are certainly quite serious. There is an immediate fines to the companies and to recruitment agencies. This often means actually that recruitment agencies are taking away their license. This has a very serious consequence on their image. And this, of course, reduces business. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is, for example, IRIS. Let's see how it works. This is a program that offers a collaboration between the UN migration agencies, governments, recruiting agencies, and civil society. So basically, the reason why we created it was because we saw that there was a need. So some time ago in the past, IOM was reached out by a number of companies that needed to identify ethical recruiters. So they came to us because they said, look guys, we are in need of finding recruiting agencies that are for sure free of exploitation of migrant workers. But we cannot trust what we see around, and if we find exploitation in their supply chain, in their recruitment methods, then our business is going to suffer. Can you do it for us? And so we as an agency in the past have done that because we are in touch with migrant workers and we are in touch with recruiters and employers. But of course this is not really our mandate. We have done it for some years, but we couldn't go on that way. And so we had the idea of creating IRIS. This tool helps us to fill the gap, or at least an existing gap, about the fact that there is no way, or there was no way, to cross-check the modus operandi of international recruitment. There are in fact a lot of interventions that focus mainly on the employment condition of workers, but there is very little to look at how international recruitment works. And international recruitment is a jungle. If you look at it, the way you interact between sending recruitment agencies, middlemen, recruitment agencies in the country of destination, middlemen over there, it really is really quite daunting to understand how it works. And the fact that it is a jungle allows for a lot of fraudulent practices to happen. So how does IRIS work? It's actually quite simple. So there are 3 ways, and these are easily seen on the screen. Number 1, you can see it, is the identification of an IRIS standard for ethical recruitment. This is nothing more than a set of principles, but very well thought of sets of principles. They are 7. And these need to be respected by the recruitment agencies that want to get the certification. So what we do is basically to decide with the government which ones are the recruitment agencies that want to be certified, and in fact it is their own voluntary decision to propose themselves. And then we sit with them throughout the process of transformation that goes from 1 to 2 years. It's a job that is done hand in hand to be able to ensure that the process of transformation of their internal organization actually brings them to get the qualification. It is then a certification that the agencies will get in the end, and this is voluntary, so we don't impose anything. Of course, it is the agency to say, yes, look, this is a big transformation for us, but we want to change radically the way we work. We want to be ethical, we want to do it with you. And then, of course, we have number 3, that is the monitoring part. Why is the monitoring part important? Because we want to ensure that when agencies have the certification, they maintain the standard. Yeah, we don't want to give the certification and then, oh dear, we have forgotten about it and they have gone back to their fraudulent practices. No, we want to ensure that the standard is maintained. And so number 3 is actually the responsibility of civil society. This is absolutely independent from us and from the recruitment agencies. And civil society that agree to be part of this system will be checking on all the actors on a regular basis to ensure that the standard is being upheld. So they will be talking to migrants that are in the country of destination or that are coming back to the country of origin. They will be talking to the service providers, they will be talking to the staff of recruitment agencies, and they will be talking to employers to ensure that it is still. So basically, summarizing, IRIS wants to transform radically the international recruitment process, and it does this through the application of the employer's pays principle. I don't know whether some of you have heard of this principle. We will look at it in a minute. It is actually quite a radical change to what currently happens in many regions of the world and in the Caribbean, but we are getting there. There are a lot of employers that are willing to be the ones bearing the costs, bearing the cost of all the process of international recruitment. And this allows to eliminate the source of vulnerability of migrant workers. And then, of course, by doing this, we increase the transparency within the system, and we upheld the human rights and the labor rights of migrants. Now, the employer's pays principle is not something that we created. It's something that has been created by the brands that you see at the bottom of the slide. I mean, I don't know whether you can all read, but we have IKEA, we have Unilever, we have Walmart, we have Marks and Spencer's, we have Tesco. Recently, I think that Target has also joined the fight. So this group is called the Leadership Group for Responsible Recruitment. And they have created the Employer's Pays Principle, and their target is to ensure that this is globally applied in a span of 10 years. They have created this in 2016, and they want to ensure that it becomes total reality all over the world by 2026. And this is happening strong in Asia. It's been our program IRIS has started in Asia some years ago. We have a program here in Jamaica, actually already undergoing. We have a program in the region between Canada and the Philippines, and the first recruitment agencies will be certified by October. So the employment pays principle, what does it say? Basically that no worker should be paying for a job. That recruiting agencies or sub-agents do not have to charge fees, which is actually, by the way, stated in Convention 181 of the International Labour Organization. I stress, it is not that they would be working for free. No, nobody wants to be working for free. They would be still getting their salaries and their returns only from a different source, not from the workers, but from the employers. The employers are responsible, therefore, for paying all recruitment fees and costs. And the suggestion from the leadership group is that employers put the money first, and not that it reimburses costs, because this indeed leaves still an open door to exploitation. So, as you might be able to imagine, this tool really offers a win-win situation for all. Because workers finally would go to use recruitment agencies that do not charge costs, and so they don't have to run into debts and become exploited. This is fair for the labour recruiters because they have extra preferential access to parts of the market that was not open to them before, because those employers that want to have recruiters that are operating in an ethical way will only use those recruiters. And they are still getting their cuts, but they are getting it from a different source. And at the same time, employers will be happy to use those recruitment agencies because they know that they do not run the risk of incurring into exploitation, abuse and trafficking of their migrant workers. They think that it is so important that in fact in countries like Canada, this has become already part of some provinces, and Saskatchewan have already included the principle of employers' pays in their provincial regulation. And in fact, talking to employers, what they are telling us is that this has radically changed their modus operandi. They are happy to go about it, and some of them go further to paying also the permit to stay of whole families of workers, because this indeed benefits their business. Now, the other tool is Crest. This is a tool that operates directly with the companies. And so it's a collaboration between us, the companies, and their supply chains. So basically, we work with them to, first of all, train them on how to find exploitation and abuse in their supply chain and what CREST is about and how it works. And then we sit with them to identify the whole global supply chain. For an agency, a company like IKEA, you can imagine that the supply chain is absolutely global, enormous. So it's not an easy task, but when there is the willingness of the chain, of the brand to work on it, you can rest assured that the agencies in the global supply chain will want to comply, because if they comply, they remain with the brand. If they don't comply, then the brand will say, I'm sorry, but you are not good enough for me. And the supply chain bit goes. So what we do is that we work hand in hand with companies to eliminate exploitation, trafficking and abuse from their international recruitment practices. This is, as I said, not an easy job to do because these are enormous supply chains, but we are getting there. And the agencies are requesting us to help them clean exploitation, trafficking and abuse from their supply chain. What we do also is to work in raising the awareness of migrant workers by providing orientation program sessions for them before they leave and once they arrive in the country of destination. And here we are. This was a bit of a rush through the main points that we have, but I'd be very happy to provide further information should you want any. So you have my email there, Michela Macchiavello, and I also leave you the contact of our colleague Keisha, who actually is based in Jamaica. I am based in the regional office in Costa Rica. Very welcome for questions.
These are in the packets.
Oh yes, and sorry, of course, and information about what I've been talking